All right, everyone. Link in the description, archived, of course. Now, disclaimer, I am not encouraging you to do this, but there are groups that are going to these numbers and calling up and attempting to tie up and disrupt the phone lines of groups in California that right now are organizing to try to disrupt ICE raids and prevent the law from being administered. See, what's happened, California is a sanctuary state. So you got millions of people illegally in the country. They've gone to California. California's state police, their state officials, they won't cooperate with Uncle Sam. Now, as a libertarian, the border is a little bit of an odd issue because here's the thing. From the constitutional perspective, securing the border and maintaining the homeostasis of the United States internally is one of the few things that the federal government not only has the explicit right to do, but the explicit responsibility to do. So I don't have any constitutional problem with like deporting people who are illegally here. I can understand the other side of the perspective, which is, hey, somebody came here, they were brought here as a kid, they don't have anything in common with their native culture, it's like, 10 years on, they speak fluent English, no, and they don't even have an accent because they've, again, never really been raised in their home country, so-called. You've got a situation where someone's getting deported, but their kids were born here, relationship with a U.S. citizen, and yet it takes, fucking years to legally immigrate, so they just sort of stay here and cohabit. You've got these situations. Someone served in the U.S. Armed Forces, someone got a degree here. I'm cognizant of that fact, and I think that we should do something for people on those various statuses. For instance, the legal immigration process in this country is fucked. It should be far more easy to legally immigrate if you fit the criteria. You read and write fluently in English, more or less, relationship to a U.S. citizen, or, interest in the armed forces, education, anything like that. You were brought here as a child, and so you don't have any connection to your home country. Or, you're the mother or father of U.S. citizen or citizens that have been born in the country that are staying here. Under those criteria, if the person is otherwise law-abiding and doesn't have some communicable serious disease, it should be a lot easier, a lot cheaper, and a lot quicker to immigrate to the United States and at least gain conditional residency. That process, if you've looked over the process, it takes too long, it's expensive, it's fucked up in every possible way. Meanwhile, you've got these people, so-called reformists, who are sitting there trying to prevent ICE from deporting people who are in here illegally and sometimes do commit crimes. How do these people know, these rapid response morons, how do you know that that group of illegals that you just warned about an impending ICE raid aren't a group of gang rapists? How do you know they're not dealing drugs to kids? How do you know they're not anything else under the sun? Cartel members. You're warning fucking Sinaloa and all of these other groups as well about the activities of the federal government insofar as they're engaged in the state of California with trying to do things. So the response is that activists have said, well, it's going to be a lot harder for the rapid response teams to operate if their phone lines are tied up and they can't communicate with anyone. Sever the line of communication, just keep their phone lines busy constantly. Has anyone tried black faxing them? By the way, you should look that up. I'm not encouraging that. For legal purposes, I can't encourage any of these behaviors. It's a gray area. If you're just calling someone up once, even if your intent is, hey, I'm going to tie up their phone lines, I don't have anything particular to say, if you're not threatening them and you're not swearing and you're not doing obscene things and you're not like calling them back over and over, is that really illegal? It's in a gray area. And you got to remember, if you're calling these groups, there are a bunch of lawyers that work with them as well. So again, for legal purposes, I'm not saying you should do this. I'm just saying this is what is happening. It's being pioneered by 4chan. And, if you join in, don't blame me, if there's any problems. I didn't tell you to. I'm telling you, I would totally never tell you that you should be an activist and that you should prevent groups from breaking the law actively by aiding and abetting fugitives. Because somehow we live in clown world and you'll get in more trouble for trying to disrupt them in a provably illegal activity than if you're them in a provably illegal activity. Here's what I would do if I wanted to reform immigration. Trump has spoken of this, that he faces nonstop obstruction from Congress. Make it easier to immigrate legally, especially if you're from a culture and a background that will be more easily assimilated. Oh yeah, I've been speaking fluent English for 20 years, I'm from a first world country, where we respect, gay rights, women's rights, people are equal, free speech is up. It's going to be easier for you to assimilate culturally than somebody from North Korea. That's just the way that it fucking is. And the liberals don't want to admit that fact. They want to pretend that if you say that, it has to do with race. It doesn't have to do with race. Somebody whose family comes directly from sub-Saharan Africa, but they settled in the UK and they were born and raised there, is going to have an easier time assimilating than someone of strictly Germanic background, but their family happened to relocate to Costa Rica or whatever. They're going to have an easier time of it. It's just the way that it is. It's not race, it's culture. There's a correlation because of racial demographics within these countries, but other than that, you can forget about it. But it's clearly the sanctuary state of California. Insofar as they're not cooperating with federal guidelines, they're not, hitting Trump in the face over this. These are laws that were passed by different iterations of Congress over the course of decades. These go back, sometimes these rules go back to like the Reagan administration. And some of them are from the Clinton era or from the Obama era under Democratic leadership. Not under Republicans, not under Trump. He wasn't even in office. It was like when Biden came out, the other day. He was like, well, Russia never interfered with the elections under me and Barack's watch. It's like, that's explicitly what happened. Supposedly, if you believe in the more Russia bullshit, which I don't even believe in to begin with. So fuck you. So yeah, people are trying to disrupt that. I wish we could reform the legal immigration system. Look, we should build the wall on our border, double the number of border patrol that we have down there, and then we can tackle the legal immigration problem. And the problem is the Republicans want slaves and the Democrats want voters. So they both want illegal immigration. Don't think for a moment that the neocon Republicans, the rhinos, want to kick anyone out of the country. No, they don't care. And they don't care if they vote for the left. They just want to use them as slaves in the meantime in sweatshops because it makes them money. They don't care about the country or anything revolving around our culture or anything. They don't care about the safety of the average citizen. See, they make a lot of money and then they live in a gated community with private guards. So they're sheltered from the responsibility of their own actions. And their kids, they can go to Starbucks and pretend to be really far left. Say, well, I love immigrants so much. And then they live in a lily white gated community, again, with like 5 or 6 big brawny dudes with machine guns. So, fuck them. Bunch of hypocrites. That's about all. Peace out.